Hey guys, my name is Crystal Daly and I'm the beauty and brains coach. Welcome back to my channel. Today's a little different. I know y'all haven't seen my face in quite some time. Baby girl been busy, but I actually have you in the salon. So yes, I am an educator. I am a state board tutor. I am a plant mama, but I am also a salon owner. So I've been insanely busy. So I just wanted to take the time out to record a video and get some good information to you guys. So y'all can get your license and y'all can be salon owners too, right? Period. I hope you guys are ready to talk about nail diseases and disorders. I know, super gross. A lot of us are cosmetologists. We have no intention to do nails. We don't want to touch feet. But as a licensed cosmetologist in most states, you're able to also perform nail services. So if you are going to be able to perform nail services, you kind of got to know about the diseases and disorders that deal with them, right? So I'm just going to go over a couple of top nail diseases I'm going to go over a couple of nail diseases and disorders that you will probably see on your state board test and how to remember them and some fun facts about them. So let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to cover is the technical term for the nail, and the technical term for the nail is onyx. This is important because as you start going through your test, you're going to notice, or as we start going through this chapter, you're going to notice like, hey, all of the words start with O-N-Y. Onycholysis, Onychophagy, Onychocryptosis. And you're going to be like, how am I supposed to know this? Well, the reason why everything starts with Oni is because the technical term for the nail plates or that nail area is onyx. Okay, friends, so let's talk about what healthy nails look like. So when I'm doing this consultation, when I'm doing my hand and nail analysis, what should I be looking for? So obviously, any signs of infection, any redness, pus, swelling, if we see that immediately, we cannot start the service. You want to recommend them to a physician. But when I'm looking at a healthy nail, I want that healthy nail to be smooth. I want it to be unspotted. I don't want to see any ridges, any bumps. It should be pinkish in color. If there's any type of color change, you might see like a white, like half moon shaped area close to the cuticle. That is your lanula. That is the exposed part of your matrix. So when we are looking for healthy nails, those are some of the things we want to see. Smooth, unspotted, no wavy ridges, no bumps and lumps. And we want to see pinkish in color, no signs of infection. I think I covered them all. Now, friends, I want you to pause this video and I want you to head over to Instagram and go follow me on Instagram. That's where all my updates live at. I have some surprises for you. I'm coming up with some tools to help ensure or to further ensure you pass on state board. And I want you to have that information. So head over to Instagram and go follow me at The Beauty and Brains Coach. It's a little brain symbol. It's the same thing that's over here, y'all. Okay, so we're studying nail diseases and disorders, but let's talk about the difference between a disease and disorder. So when I'm talking about a nail disorder, usually that's something that I can work on. So you're going to have like common disorders, like things that show up like all the time, like, girl, that's just a hangnail, you'll be all right, versus like some uncommon disorders, like an ingrown toenail, something that I don't expect, right? So it's important for us as cosmetologists to identify, what can I work on and what I can't work on, like what's contagious versus not contagious, right? And what's a disorder versus what's a disease. A lot of times, if it is a disease, it's usually contagious. If it's a disorder, it's something that, is hereditary. Maybe you're born with it. But it won't cause too much harm. You usually can work around a nail disorder. So we're going to start off by covering a lot of common nail disorders, usually things that you'll see that you can work on and you can advise your guests or give your guests some tips and tricks to help with. And then we'll finish this off by talking about some nail diseases. The nail plate, right? That hardened tissue around, you get it real good, right? all of that is considered onychophagy. So if you have a guest who comes in and she has onychophagy, she has bitten nails, you can work on that guest. You're going to advise that guest to get regular manicures. For real, the more that guest gets their nails done, the less they're going to bite their nails. When I start biting, it's because I need my nails groomed for sure. If you notice that the skin is broken, it's bleeding, unfortunately, you cannot work on that guest. Now, I want you guys to take a look at the slide. And if you notice that I have chopped, highlighted in red. So this is how I remember bitten nails, because when I am biting my nails, I am chopping on my nails. Okay, friends, so the next disorder we're going to talk about is leukonychia. Leukonychia is white spots found on your nail plate. This is usually caused by teeny tiny damages to that nail matrix or to that nail bed. We know that the nail bed is the live tissue that that nail plate sits on. So you accidentally like bump it on a dresser, or maybe you're not paying attention and stub your toe. That can cause those white spots in the nail plate. So let's talk about leukonychia. I have Leuko highlighted. Anytime I see leuko, I think white. So think about it. This is a reoccurring theme that we've seen over and over and over again. So when I think about white spots in the skin, the technical term for that is leukoderma, right? So white spots, here we go again. If we think about cancer of your white blood cells, it is leukemia. So again, we keep seeing this leuko representing white spots over and over again. What's interesting about this one, I was in beauty school many years ago. We were told it was because of a vitamin deficiency. Like if you don't drink enough milk, you're going to get those white spots in your nails. In 2021, that is not the case, girl. They was just trying to make us drink milk. And we now know milk is not even, that's a whole nother conversation for another day. Leukonychia, white spots in your nails. All right, our next disorder we're going to talk about is melanonychia. So you see how we going with this melanin thing? Leukonychia is white spots. Melanonychia is darkening of your nail plate. So it's the overproduction of melanin in the nail plate. So this can come in a couple different kind of scenarios. It's usually hereditary. You normally can work on this, guest. It is a real common disorder in people with more melanin. So African American, Caribbean, you got a little extra melanin production, you may run the risk of having melanonychia. You can have just one dark band in one nail. You can have them throughout all 10 nails, but again, it's normally hereditary. The only way I would have any type of concern if I saw a darkening of the nail plate, if I had a fair-skinned guest or a Caucasian guest who had never had this, no one in their family had this, and all of a sudden they now have a dark change in the nail plate, that could be an identification of cancer. Melanonychia. Melanocytes in your nail plate. Darkening of your nail plate. Okay, guys, so now we're going to talk about nail diseases. A lot of times, if a guest has a nail disease, they're not going to know, especially if it's like on a toenail. They're not going to be able to identify that. So that responsibility falls on us as a trained professional to protect ourselves and to protect our clients, right? Usually, if something is contagious, there will be some type of identification, and then we'll go through a couple of big hitters that we could possibly see. Okay, so for our first nail disease and disorder, or for our first nail, it's really not a disease or a disorder, right? Have you ever been really sick and then you go to the emergency room, you're like, oh, I don't know what's wrong with me. My stomach hurt. I can't do this. I can't do that. They run tests. They give you a CAT scan. 17 hours later, they give you a piece of paper. You read the piece of paper and it's like the technical term for a stomach ache. You're like, I knew that, right? That you're not really helping me at all, right? That's what this next word is. So we have onychosis. And onychosis is just a technical term for any type of nail disease or nail disorder. So you run to the emergency room, your nail plate is doing something crazy. They're like, lady, I don't know what it is on that piece of paper. They're going to be like, This young lady has onychosis, and it's just a general phrase, a general medical term for a disease or a deformity of that nail plate. So all of the diseases we talk about from this point on fall under the category of onychosis. I have osis highlighted in the back because in my mind, it's like, sis, you got a nail disease. I believe the question is like, Mariah's finger is doing something weird. What's the technical term for what Mariah got going on with her nail? And my brain instantly was like, sis, you got a disease, right? Onychosis. I hope it works. If it works, I want y'all to go in the comments and type, girl, it works. And I know that you made it all the way to this point in the video and you like what I'm putting down. You picking up what I'm putting down. That makes me feel good. Ooh, now we're getting into the good stuff, right? Okay, so the next word that we have here is onychomycosis. Onychomycosis is a fungal infection of the nail plate, aka ringworm of the nail plate, right? Nasty. Also notice that I have HOMY highlighted. This may be a stretch, it's weird for me, but I see, oh my, I have a fungus. Oh my, because if I had onychomycosis, I would freak out. I would be like, oh my, I have a fungus, call the doctor. Okay, so let's talk about onychomycosis. Like, how do we identify? How do we know? What are we looking for? So if it's in the beginning stages, sometimes they will have like white spots in their nail plate. Also, this is very popular on feet because if you think about it, your feet are in dark, wet, dank places. It's the perfect breeding ground for infectious diseases, right? So on that nail plate, there may be like soft white patches when at first that you could like scrape off, right? And then as the disease progresses, those white patches can kind of turn yellowy. What will begin to happen is that nail plate will begin to grow out and it will thicken and harden and become more yellow. As that disease progresses further and further down the nail plate, because it usually starts at the top and works its way down to the matrix. If that disease, if that fungus is allowed to reproduce and it doesn't get treated and it makes it all the way to your matrix, it's going to make that nail fall out. It could totally fall out. It could partially fall out. But at that point, if it makes it down to that live tissue, there should be some pain. At that point, that guess should be really, really uncomfortable. That's like some serious neglect. You are not going to service that guest. You're not going to touch it. You're not going to put on gloves. You're going to refer them to a physician. Here is why. Couple different reasons. The number one reason, you want to protect yourself and you want to protect the guest that's in your chair, and you want to protect your guests that will come in the future. The number one reason why you're not going to service this, and this is how I'm going to present this to a guest, is that I want to protect my guests. The guest that actually has a disease, the guest that actually has a disorder, I don't want to cause any more harm. I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to create an infection. So I don't want this disease to spread from your big toe on your right foot to all 10 toes, right? Because that's an actual thing, right? That's number one. Number two, I want to protect myself. I don't want to bring a disease home to my family, to my plants. Like, what am I going to do, right? And number three, I want to protect all my other future clients. It's our responsibility to keep that infection control nice and tight, but also to deny services to guests that could potentially increase our risk of exposure. All right, friends, we still talking about funguses. It's not fungus, it's fungi. Plural is fungi. We smart around here, right? Okay, so we are talking about fungi, right? So we talked about ringworm of the toenail. We've seen this before. Tinea Pedis. Tinea Pedis is ringworm of your feet, or athlete's foot, right? When athlete's foot show up to the party, a lot of times it lives in between the webs of your feet and toes, right? Because again, bacteria, fungi, they enjoy dark, wet, dank places where they can hide and reproduce and do their thing, right? So when a guest comes in and maybe she's getting a pedicure, make sure we are doing a foot analysis. Make sure we are inspecting not only the toenails, but inspecting in between the toes. So if athlete's foot shows up to the party or Tinea Pedis shows up into the salon, it can look like little red blisters in between the webs of your toes. The skin could be peeling as well. Again, we are not going to service this guest. We're not going to service this guest. However, we're going to recommend them to a physician. We're also going to advise them like, hey, I am not a doctor and I cannot tell you how to treat this. However, if this is athlete's foot, you want to keep your feet dry. You want to keep your feet dry. You want to remove your socks twice a day. You want to change your shoes daily. You don't want to run or work out in the same tennis shoes. You don't want to use the same work boots. So you can allow those shoes to air dry over 24 hours to help with this challenge. But there are all type of over-the-counter products, but it is not your job to diagnose. You're just advising them as a professional beauty advisor. Oh, and when y'all go to these public places, stop being barefoot. Stop it. Stop walking around in barefoot at the gym, in hotels, any high contact. Put on some socks. Put on some shoes. Stop it. If you at beauty school walking around without shoes on, shame on you. Put your shoes on because you can get athlete's foot, kid. Okay, friends, we got a big word. I want you to say it after me when I say it. The word is Pseudomonas aeruginosa. I'll say it one more time. The word is Pseudomonas aeruginosa, aka the greenie. So let me tell you a story. You go get your nails done. You've been wearing this set for like 2 months. You're like, girl, I'm just about to get a feel. I ain't got time. I don't feel like soaking them off. And then when you finally do remove all your nails off, you notice you have a little green spot on your pinky nail. That is Pseudomonas aeruginosa. So this is a bacteria. It's not a fungus. A lot of times when people see that, they're like, ooh, I got a fungus. It is not a fungus. That green spot is caused by a bacteria. So let me explain to you where this little green spot comes from. So this Pseudomonas aeruginosa is a bacteria. It lives in water. It loves moisture, but it is also anaerobic. This bacteria lives everywhere. When I say it's anaerobic, it's able to thrive and reproduce in areas that lack oxygen. So this is why we're not going to do a water manicure before we get our nails done. And this is why we want to make sure before we apply artificial nail enhancements that nail plate has been completely dried and dehydrated, because leaving moisture will also not only just prevent the enhancement from lasting long, but it can cause this issue, right? So you have a droplet of water. It's a tiny bit of moisture trapped underneath that nail plate, and it creates a watertight seal, which is it's dark, it's wet. It is the perfect environment for this bacteria to thrive and grow in. What actually happens, the bacteria, it thrives off of pretty much our acid mantle, like our natural secretions. He hangs out, he eats, he pees and poops. And guess what that green spot is in your nail? The poop. That's all it is. It's not a fungus. And what's even more interesting is once you pop that nail off, or once that nail has came off and the nail plate has been exposed to oxygen, you kill the bacteria. It's gone. It's done. And the green spot is literally just a stain in your nail and just a sweet, sweet reminder of the pet you had that lived underneath your nail. So you can service this guest. You can service this guest as long as there is no sign of infection. It's not tender. The nail plate isn't flexible. I would just buff it and throw some polish on top of it. But yeah, totally safe to work on. All right, so next we have Onychocryptosis. Crip walk. If y'all could, I'm sorry, West Coast. I just violated. Did not mean it. Anyway, Onychocryptosis is an ingrown toenail, or an ingrown nail, period. So this is when a nail plate grows into that living tissue. Cosmetologists, manicurists, nail techs, you should not be working on ingrown toenails. You should not be digging them out. You should not be cutting them out. We're going to refer them to a physician. You go in, start digging in a toenail, you get that area infected, that responsibility falls on you. If it is infected, it can cause pain, pus. As you can see, it can get really scary with an ingrown toenail. Some things that can cause ingrown toenails is improperly fitting shoes. Also cutting the corners off of your toenail. So if I'm looking at a big toenail, I'm going to cut that big toenail straight across. State board question. Wink, wink, right? You can round those corners off, but you never want to go in and like file off your corners or go in and cut the corners off, because when it grows out, you run the risk of it growing into that living tissue. Also notice with Onychocryptosis, I have crypt highlighted for my crypt walk, because you crypt walking on your toes, right? Also a crypt, if you like from a cemetery, like if I had an ingrown toenail, I would die. I would literally die. So ingrown toenail, Onychocryptosis. Lastly, we have Onycholysis. Onycholysis is the lifting or the separation of the nail plate from the nail bed. This usually starts at the free edge or that hyponychium area. Know that word. That's that living tissue underneath your nail plate. And it works its way back down to the lanula. Every time I've seen this is usually due to improper enhancement removal. Like you have some type of trauma with the nail and the nail pops off, or you're ripping them off. It can be caused by aggressive filing. It can also be caused by an allergic reaction. A lot of times you can still service this guest. I would just advise this guest, don't stick anything underneath the nail. Don't try to separate it more. As it begins to grow out, that hyponychium will reform, and that is truly the most important thing, that we have that watertight seal underneath the free edge. Notice in Onycholysis, I have Lysis highlighted. With lysis, lifting, I connect those L's. That's how my brain clicks, friends. I want to thank you guys for watching. Do not forget to head over to Instagram and follow me at the Beauty and Brains Coach. I have some really cool things coming down the pipeline, some cool tools to help you through beauty school, to help ensure your licensure. And I am so proud of you guys. Keep showing me love, keep jumping in the comments, keep supporting each other. This is dope. This is dope. Keep telling me what you want to hear. I'm a new salon owner. If you want to talk about that, tell me. I want to talk to y'all. I love y'all. Thank you so much, and I will see you next time.